Welcome to Scarecrow Labs. Each plate has a tab cut into it that permits an electrical connection. The electrical connection is made using a female quick disconnect. For experimentation, this is great because it allows you to rewire the device just about any way you'd like to have it. But for long-term use, it is a little frail, so I'm going to show you how to make this connection really sturdy. Okay, let's get started. First of all, you're going to need some tools. You're going to need a good heavy-duty soldering iron or soldering gun. You're going to need a pair of wire cutters and a pair of wire strippers. And of course, you're going to need some solder. Now, I'm using pretty heavy-duty wire here. I'm using an 8-gauge stranded wire and a special high-temperature stainless steel female quick disconnect. The female quick disconnects in this high-temperature stainless are a little hard to find, and they're kind of expensive, but they sure beat the devil out of those cheapies you get at Home Depot. Okay, I've stripped my wire, stripped off a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch of insulation, and I've installed the quick disconnect on the end of the wire. Now here I'm soldering the quick disconnect to the end of the wire. Now it's very important that you get that quick disconnect good and hot so that the solder melts all the way through. Basically, you want to tin that wire while it's inside the shroud of the quick disconnect. Takes a little patience and does require a soldering gun or a soldering iron that will generate a little bit of heat. And you notice I'm using the plate as a heat sink to keep it from melting the insulator. So be careful with it, but make sure you get that quick disconnect nicely soldered to the end of the wire. Now once my quick disconnect is firmly soldered to the end of the wire, I take my crimper and give it one good hard squeeze to make sure that everything's nice and tight in there. Okay, now comes the really tricky part. And this is where it takes a soldering gun or a soldering iron with some real oomph behind it. What I'm doing here is I am quite literally soldering the quick disconnect to the plate. Now, this requires that you get that tab on the plate good and hot to make sure you get a good solid solder joint. Some folks might even want to try using a propane torch to do this job, although you got to be real careful with a propane torch that you don't warp your stainless steel. And here's what it looks like all done. So now we've got a good firm connection. The quick disconnect is soldered firmly to both the wire and the plate. Now we need to tidy it up a little bit so when we pack these plates real close together we don't inadvertently short something out. So to properly insulate our connection from adjacent plates, you'll notice I've slipped a piece of 3/16 inch heat shrink wrap around my entire connection joint. Then I apply a lighter, and you can see what it looks like all tidied up. Now we've got ourselves a good solid connection that won't short out to the adjacent plates. Well, that's it. Good firm connection made. Time to go assemble my device. Hope you enjoyed the presentation.